Oh, we're the Kazers.
Kazers, that's right.
Yeah. Jeff, Tom, and Ann. And this is our friend Christopher, who comes on Thursdays to ping pong with Tom and me quite often. So he and Tom are good ping pong buddies.
Me and Tom are good ping pong buddies.
I'm Janet Brockman.
And I'm Cal Brockman.
Yeah, Jeff grew up here.
That's right. My mom brought us here in 1963. So I've been bumming around here for 60 years.
And your dad was the bass soloist
Dad
for 20
was the bass
years.
soloist, yeah.
Yeah. My mom grew up in this church also, and her parents and her grandmother also were members back in the 1940s. So we've been around here for a long time.
We are members here. We've been members here for a very, very long time, over 60 years. And we met in first grade in Sunday school.
Who are you?
Hi, I'm Harriet Ottaviano, and I've been a member of First Church for about 10 years. And I first became involved with the Connection Ministries of First Church when I found out that we had a prayer shawl ministry, which was something I was involved with in my previous church. And I was happy to find out that my somewhat limited skills as a knitter and crocheter were welcomed in this group, and I began making prayer shawls. And one of the very touching memories I have of doing prayer shawls was during COVID. We were approached by a chaplain at a local hospital to see if we could provide prayer shawls. She said that because people couldn't have any visitors, they were really hungry for a personal touch, something that could remind them of the touch of God in their lives, and also to add color to a very drab hospital room. So we provided over 50 prayer shawls to hospitals and also to people in recovery programs during COVID, and we still continue to do that. The first documented case of COVID in Oregon, a man in Washington County, received our prayer shawls on the day he was discharged from the hospital after 2 long months. He and his wife received matching prayer shawls that one of our members had made. And for me, that is a connection to the wider community that just still touches my heart.
But I got hooked on working with kids in this congregation because there's so many amazing young people here. And I was part of a team of 6 of us who worked with confirmands when our daughter was in confirmation class. Wow. And it was such a rich experience for her and her friends. She's still in touch with a lot of those kids who went through confirmation class together. And I think they bonded because it was a time in their lives when they were trying to figure out who they were and who they wanted to be. And our church provided a safe place for them to explore that, to ask big, hard questions, and to find their own way in this community. So then I was hooked, and I kept teaching confirmation and youth for years after that. I like to think that I've now been promoted to working some with adults, with parents of Sunday school age children. It's more comforting than the thought of being put out to pasture. Might be a little of both, but I really enjoy connecting with other parents and talking about how they're trying to raise their kids to be compassionate, to be kind, to be anti-racist, to be aware of the needs of others and not so focused just on themselves and their own immediate set of friends and family, but to look at the broader community and see what they can do to make things better.
We started very, very young when we were in what they used to call MYF, and then that became UMY, or UMY, and that was very formative to both of us, and that was a very memorable time for me.
I think so too. In fact, we still go to church with some of those people. And so that's pretty unusual. But yeah, we have long roots that have gone out there. And also, when you're living life with folks that you've known a long time, or new people that come in and you form new relationships, it's really a special thing to be able to share your spiritual life with them and they with you. And I think that that's very special too, and that's one of the reasons we enjoy engaging in different committees or social groups or things like that.
It's a joy to be able to say something like, we'll do anything we can for you, but at least can we pray for you? Or to know that we can go visit somebody if they're sick or if they're having a problem, and that will very likely be part of the visit. And I think that's important to me. It's my deepest self, and I want to be able to share that.
Tom, can you tell Karen and Ethan a little bit about the volunteering you've done here?
I've been working hard.
Doing what?
Shovel and rake.
Shovel and rake.
Yeah.
What else?
Cake break.
That's the best part of shovel and rake.
That's the best part of shovel and rake. Cake break.
The East Side Dinner Group is a fun group of people on the East Side, and I know there's a West Side one as well. Once a month, the second Wednesday of the month, we get together and a different couple or person, it's singles and couples, will choose a restaurant on the East Side, and we get there and we just have fellowship. We've been as small as 3 people, sometimes during COVID or during bad weather, and other times we're up to 20 or more. And if you're on the East Side, it's a fun group to be a part of. It's another way where you get to know people. Besides sitting in church and say good morning, how are you, you really get to know people through experiences like that.
It is. We've enjoyed being part of the West Side Supper Club too, and got to go out to dinner with a bunch of our friends just a few days ago. And
Right, just this past weekend.
I love being able to get into good conversations, especially with some of our older members who inspire me in the way that still in their 80s and 90s even, they're out there doing all kinds of active things. Harvey Carruth still runs his own business and employs 10 people and takes Kayla out fishing a couple times a week, which I think is amazing. And Vern Groves is part of our Planet Church group, and he's still going down to Salem to lobby for legislation that he thinks will help the environment, and he's writing letters to congressmen. And so I love that about members of our church, that they're still really actively engaged in trying to make the world a better place.
Amen. During COVID, when we couldn't get together in person, the Zoom Bible studies and the Zoom prayer groups came up and really filled a void in my life and in the lives of so many others that continues even now that we can be back in person. We've continued the Zoom prayer group on Tuesday mornings and pray for the congregation and for any concerns that come our way. And Bible studies during COVID, we had soup suppers where we'd all make soup, the same soup, and then talk about what soup we had for dinner that night. And then when we could finally get back together, it's been a wonderful opportunity to ask questions and to delve deeper into what makes us Methodists, what makes us Christians, what makes us human.
So has the Planet Church Committee. I'm just so glad that our congregation has an emphasis on environmental justice, and that we have so many people who are passionate and knowledgeable about that subject. Every time we meet, I learn from other people. Gail Douglas is an absolute expert on how to recycle anything in the city of Portland, and I love that about her. I love the activism that I see in some of our members, how Jim Rule is all about native plants and insects and how we can try to restore the right balance.
And mason bees.
And mason bees, right. He loves
Mason
mason
bees, that's
bees.
right.
And he's come as a guest speaker to our confirmation class with mason bee eggs and taught them about the life cycle of mason bees and why they're important pollinators. So I'm grateful to be part of a group of people who are always trying to learn how to better steward God's beautiful creation. And yeah, I feel like I've found my people.
The United Women of Faith is a wonderful group of women who support missions all over the world. They support our prayer shawl ministry with their time and also with donations of yarn and money to buy yarn. They support students, they support our missionaries, and they're a fellowship of Christian women who get together to share our love of service and our devotion to the wider community.
Just look around and see what the people that are just a little older than we are have given every chance they've had to this church. And some of them are still here and some of them can't be here anymore, but boy, we saw it and we remember it, and it built this church, and we need to keep as much of that alive and going as we can.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, if you have friendships with people and they say, hey, why don't you come and help us? We're going to do whatever. Often you'll hear, yeah, okay. And it just becomes fun, even if you're working.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, Dr. Balcom was the senior pastor, and he wrote a book. The book was called
Stir What You've Got.
Stir What You've
It
Got.
was required reading for me before we could get married. Seriously.
Dr. Balcom convinced me that I should tithe, and so this is one of the things we talked about before we got married, and so I've been basically tithing ever since I started working.
And I knew it was part of the package. I didn't grow up tithing, but Jeff and Dr. Balcom convinced me that to whom much is given, much is required. And we've been so blessed to have families who have raised us with everything that we've needed. They've provided education for us, and I think both of us realize we need to give back and try to make those opportunities that we've had available to other people too.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important to realize, I remember in our younger years, we were told by the pastor at that time, we need to make budget, okay? So everybody needs to dig deep, and then if we have other things we want to do, that'll be great. But we've always been, encouraged to give. And I think that...
And reminded.
The importance and what for.
It's a part of what's being taught in the Bible that we do share our abundance. We share the gifts because of God's provision. Right. So we take that very much to heart.
In that regard.
It is not hard for one to be generous in either time or money when one can feel the impact, personal impact of what our programs have on our congregation and on the wider community. I was raised to give money to the church, as meager as it was when I was a kid, but my parents always felt like we didn't have a lot of money, but giving money to the church was something we took off the top before we paid other bills, and we took the money off the top to donate to church. And that's the way I was raised, and I've tried to continue that and also impart that to my children and my grandchildren in time.
So education about the Bible, what it says, what our role is here in this life, I think is wonderful, because I think a lot of people don't know. And that's what we're here for, is to make disciples for Jesus Christ. So I'm in favor of anything that supports that idea.
Would you guys like to go to ping pong pretty soon?
Okay.
Yeah.